understanding your question correctly, Richard, I think, and we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. I don't know the answer. I think it's likely driven by like the social norms and cultural sensitivities of where you are, right? That's likely going to be like the primary driving factor of where that line is drawn, either on this end or the other, right? Like whether we're saying this is just too far and this is too PC, to use the term politically correct, which everyone uses nowadays, or this is too far down, right? Like this is too far, because there's a lot of things that are, especially like living here in Canada, it's easy to see, and Matt can attest to this, right? Like their lines are different, right? There's things that are open for conversation and debate in the States that are pretty settled here, right? And people don't really it's not open conversation. And if you brought it up, you would be crossing the line. You'd be crossing that line, and most people would be like, yeah, get out of here, right? Like, we're not having that conversation. We're past that. We've, progressed or moved our lines past that at this point. Is there a place where that line is too far for a particular, society or group? Undoubtedly, yeah, I'm sure there is, but that's largely going to be dictated by what your cultural norms are right then, right? So and I'll pose a question back to you to kind of phrase it now, to jump back on the back end of where this line is drawn. Who is a racist to you? Like, who are we like, that's the line? Or anti-Semite, racist or anti-Semite, whatever one you want to choose. Where's the line for that? Where you're like, oh, that's not the guy. I'm not having that conversation. Cut. Who is that? And what does he say? What does he do? What is his beliefs?
It's hard. It's a hard question to answer. It's a really hard question to answer because, I think Matt made the point earlier that so rarely do we, when we're presented with opportunities to have a conversation about whether or not somebody's being just, I don't want to say racist, but just biased in some way, it's not like stamped like on their head, right? There's some gray wrapped around it. So to answer that question, I think if you put a gun to my head and I had to define what a racist person is it someone who thinks that inherently because of someone's race, they are less capable of or less deserving of, in a social
basic
structure.
Human rights.
Right.
Okay. And do you think that there's sorry, go ahead. Do you think there's particular statements that they can make that would exemplify that mentality to you? That would make you be like, you know what? No.
It's not black and white. I think it's not black or white. There's Steve says this all the time. It's a spectrum. I think that there are people who have been, impacted by they've lived in a situation where things have been so socially inequitable that they have beliefs that, can appear racist that aren't necessarily racist. And the same is true on the flip side, right? So it's like, again, it's really hard question for me to answer because that's a long ass way of saying, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know that I have the answer either. Intuitively, I would say that yes, there is a line. Drawing it is the hard part.
Yeah.
Picking where it is. Cause like you said, like I've had situations where like, if I heard someone say that, I'd be like, yo, cut off. But then I've had friends say it and I'm like, oh, well, is it the line? Because maybe it is not, because I know this person and I know they don't mean it that way.
And I guess the only reason, and I'll end on this because I know we want to go down a different path, is that the only reason I bring up the question is because I feel like for a long time, everybody's been looking in one direction and trying to move the line more towards humanity. But in an effort to do so, I think it's accelerated in the opposite direction, and then we're not considering the potential impact of that.
You mean pushing people further and backwards, or
no, pushing people further in this kind of like rat race to be the most sensitive? Right?
Okay.
It's accelerated in that direction so fast, and that it just, I don't know that we've acknowledged and are aware of what social impact that has. But again, we can.
But don't you even think that in and of itself is like a referendum on like these these groups, right? Because like for us, we talk about like gay rights and stuff like that. And we're like, oh, that's not accelerating too fast. But we could talk to some old black people and be like, yo, really? Really? That we're going all the way there? And you're like, well, yeah, like that's where we are, right? Like we're here, right? And so for them, their line's different from us.
We got Steve. We got Steve now that I'm gonna get in real quick, and we got Charles.
Yeah, it's just kind of looking at it from the standpoint of how we get to this point of where the kind of the line is. Like I said, I like to use the word spectrum. Just kind of looking at a reference Charles made as far as conversation in the shower. What's crazy is that shower conversation that solidifies in your own mind. You go out and you connect with others, and that shower conversation becomes its own bubble of people. And from there, that bubble, it just solidifies and makes the belief so absolute. And with that absoluteness of belief, then there are your lines right there. It's what you believe is just so absolute. And people have levels of absolute beliefs. And when you cross that absolute belief, because you have those who believe absolutely that Black people are less than white. You have people that believe absolutely, all these different stereotypes. So when the conversation crosses over those absolutes that people have developed in themselves, like I say, starting with the shower conversation, and it creates their community bubble, and they don't want their bubble to burst. They're proud of their bubble, and they've invested a lot into their bubble. So at that point they're going to defend the bubble, and you have people that those are pretty much their lines. And just like with the sensitivity area, there's bubbles of sensitivity that's like, okay, no, based on the reality of what I and my community has gone through, you got to be careful not to bust this bubble, because we believe this absolutely about us. We believe who we are as a people. We believe in our pride.
And I would like to say, I think it's very unhealthy, and just responding to something you were saying, Richard, about putting people in these absolute boxes. Anything that ends usually with the suffix ist, I don't think it's good. You know what I'm saying? Because and that's a part of like, and one of the reasons why it contributes to what you said, when you like in this race to be, the most sensitive. That's describing like a something that you even recognize what's going on. This is some fake shit to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's this race. Like it's like, and now it's made it to something else. It's not even principally what it's saying on paper. It's something else going on. You know what I'm saying? So, and people are getting status off of this, because this is turned into opportunity, which leads into occupation, which leads into capital. So this is how everything is tied into motivating about status and money. And that's because the door is open, because people are feeling, people are suffering from a level of deprivation. We are all to a degree. So, you want recognition. You see the door open, and people create these entities. They create these terms, and then they act like they're absolute. And also one of the reasons I don't think it's healthy to put this ist on people, because from the concept and the principle, like, like a scripture say, pluck the beam out your own eye before you pluck it out of somebody else's. Clean up your own house before you come out of somebody else's. You're pointing at somebody else saying this, like, and then, in the nature of the whole society, people can examine your life and find some other shit to point at you about. You know what I'm saying? So it's like operating, if you're going to have the aspect of just putting people in this label or judging them like this, I would recommend that you have some type of level of cleanliness in your own house before you kind of go and looking at somebody else saying, oh, you're this and you're that. That's another reason why I personally don't support it, because it's a level of hypocrisy going on, and just an overall lifestyle. Like I said, I'm just looking at everything. It's all interconnected. So these factors, I don't think it's healthy. Oh, you're a racist, you're a sexist, this, and we don't. First of all, we don't even know what that really means. There's no real universal definition about it. So just for that fact alone, is just another thing to deal with thought association, and it's whatever thought is associated in your mind. That's what it means to you. Now it opens the door for manipulation, and that's that whole game. It just kind of goes back that circle again. So I don't think it's healthy just to put those labels on people, and especially when you see kind of what's going on with the shit. I know we got Charles.
Yeah, man, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because you really hit it right on the head, more or less what I was gonna say. The only thing that I have written here that I think is worth even mentioning at this point is two things really. This like idea of like a moral high horse, which, you know, a lot of times when you see that, it's not real. You know, it's something else that's maybe even toxic. You know, someone's own interpersonal problems, and they want to, you know, how it's easier to point out other people's problems than it is your own. Um, and then again, piggybacking off of what you said, was just this idea that power corrupts, right? I think the initial cancellations that we ever saw, and let me just be clear to define cancel culture and cancellation in this context. Like when I'm saying cancel on this call, I mean like trying to come for someone's job and harm their ability to work ever again or whatever it is. Like we've used it kind of loose here about like, oh, let's cancel a conversation. Let's be clear. I think in the context of this conversation, when we talk about cancel, we're talking about bringing social power to bear to ruin somebody. And I think the first few times that may have happened, it was probably a good thing, right? Like it was a chance for people who were oppressed in some way or another to actually like protect themselves, or to have society reach in and say, no, we're all in this together. We're going to punish these people. I just think the problem is it's gone too far, and it's used too heavy-handedly and too often. And I think some people have gotten a taste of that, and you know, power corrupts, just like anything. A lot of good people that go into political positions or positions of power go in with the best of intent, but under that long duration of having power, it can corrupt a lot of people, and that's why I think you start seeing people just getting canceled for any old little thing that, you know, and that's obviously not healthy.
So we got Steve and we got Adam.
Yeah, I was just looking at this at the concept of cancel culture. It's like it is this, because when you made mention of, you know, they're losing their job, losing their ability to really take care of themselves and their family. It's like a prison. It's like a prison sentence without due process. And it's you're just convicted quick, and just like that, like I said, without any due process, you are just outside, because that's what happens when you're arrested and convicted. You are now canceled from this society. You know, it's just that you're not placed in a particular facility under particular authority, but you have lost your ability to truly take care of yourself and to be a part of society. So yeah, that's one of the, I think, is a true danger, a huge danger in a way of this so-called cancel culture, because, you know, because this is a very slippery, dangerous, steep slope we're sliding down, because anybody can do it. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the Salem witch hunt, because it wasn't just about witches. I mean, who was it? The McCarthyism. I mean, because so many people got caught up in that. So this is not too far different from those two you know, those 2 points in history.
Adam.
I know it's on you, Adam.
No,
sorry.
go ahead. Say your point. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Just really quickly, I was just going to say, like, it's not even, it's worse than due process. It's like bias process. Like and there almost is no process. It's like,
right. I said without due process.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's like, but it almost feels worse, almost, because there's no, like, you just have to have like a slither of what might have happened, you know, not even in any reasonable amount of time ago, and that's grounds. That is like reasonable grounds under this logic, and it's just crazy dangerous to me.
Yeah, man, I know you got to go too soon, Richard, man, but next time we'll make sure we start off the right way, man.
Yeah.
Way, you know.
No, I appreciate it, fellas.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah, all right. We got Adam. I know you had your hand.
There's a couple thoughts going in there. So let me just start with a question while I gather them. Harvey Weinstein, right? He's accused of, I don't even know how many, like 100 cases of sexual misconduct. Should he be allowed to still work and make a living doing what he's doing?
If all the other ones doing it, then yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're
Like I'm asking. This is a question I'm asking. I'm curious based on everybody's stance here. Harvey Weinstein used his job to manipulate women and had, I don't know, I don't remember the number, but it was a lot. It could have been close to like 100 sexual misconduct cases, allegations against him. Is it a problem that he lost his job or lost his ability to make an earning?
He got sentenced. I mean, it's different.
Yeah, but this is, I want to do this pre-sentencing.
Yeah.
Pre-sentencing, right? Because he was canceled before he got sentenced.
That's true.
Pre-sentencing, because I think this is like, I think he might have been sentenced sometime in the last year or so. But he's been
I think
canceled.
we're all comfortable with Harvey Weinstein being canceled. I think I would guess that. That's
I know. I personally, like, I don't, you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar, man. You got caught. You know what I'm saying? Like, the crime is only illegal if you get caught. That's all I'm saying. Like, I feel that. I would think in a regular society, okay, this dude did this, man. We ain't fucking with you no more.
So it's not canceling in and of itself. It's the progression
of heavy-handed.
It's the heavy-handed canceling. But aren't you basing that based on where you think your line is?
My point was that,
I mean,
the same people. I'm looking at it like this: the same people that are pointing their fingers saying cancel it, they're doing the same shit. I know people like, I know people can't say, well, you can't prove that. You get, of course, that's the thing about it. Some people get caught, usually the minority, and majority do not get caught. So the same people that like cancel him, like you're fucking right beside him.
Yeah, Your Highness, but I don't think that's like a good argument to like not go after somebody, right? Like, it's not like no one on earth is innocent of everything. By that, standard, we can't go after anybody for anything, right? Like, I don't think the question is whether you like Jesus and have done nothing wrong. It means that it's
I'm not
those
saying
without
that.
think castle first stone, right?
I'm not saying that.
No one's ever casting stones, right? We all messed up in one way or another, right? But I think we can, like, by that logic, then we can't even go after Harvey Weinstein, right? We're like, oh, well, I've done some bad stuff in my life, so I mean, can I go after him for sexually assaulting 80 women? Yep.
It's about magnitude.
Okay, we got Charles. We got Charles, and then we got.
It's about magnitude. So Kevin Hart makes a joke that's insensitive, at some point in his career. Should he lose his whole career off that, right? That's different than 80 cases of sexual misconduct, right? Like, magnitude matters. Now, of course, you're asking the harder question, which is, whose line do we get to use?
Whose line?
But that I don't know how to answer that. But magnitude, to most of us, I think it's pretty clear.
To build on Your Highness's like what he was saying before about, like, people end up kind of getting canceled anyway. If Kevin Hart is getting canceled anyway by the collective, then that's the line, right? They've drawn it. They've drawn it, and they've drawn that line, and he's being canceled because the majority of people have been like, you know what? And I'm not. To be clear, I am on Kevin Hart's side. I don't think he should have been canceled for that. But to go with like the academic conversation in this, like, if as Your Highness is saying, if the collective has moved there and they're automatically canceling, then haven't they told you what the line is? And maybe the line isn't as far as maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe the line isn't. Maybe that's not the line.
But Kevin Hart still works. So
well, I know.
Outcomes matter.
I know
thankfully. You know what I mean?
So then we've heard. So then the people have spoken, and the line's not there, right? But we've all collectively come together and been like, you know what, Harvey, you can't be diddling 100 girls, bro. That's like the line. You way past the line, brother. Like, you losing it, right?
But see, now the main difference with Harvey Weinstein is this: is his ability to continue to do what he did to get canceled. He was in a position to continue to do it. See, this is the thing. When there's enough, it's like, okay, there was no due process, but at the same time, that which he was doing, he was still in a position to do. With Kevin Hart, he's in a position to say anything that he want to say, but at the same time, he'd already apologized for it and has evidence of moving on. So it was with him, you're talking about a direct harm to the people that he was accused of. of doing, committing a direct harm. Say, okay, so no, you don't need to be in this position because you are directly hurting people on a very consistent basis. And you're doing it like you don't, like it's no, like in your heart of hearts, there's nothing wrong with it. So there's a level of cancel that there's a level of societal need at that point. There's a urgency to deal with the issue. So with that, saying no, something needs to be done. So those are some things I think we have to take into consideration with that cancel piece, because when you bring up Weinstein, that which he was canceled for, he was in a position to keep doing it.
I try to think of someone who everybody would agree with. But let me correct myself even, because I just agreed with you a second ago with regards to magnitude, and I don't think I actually even agree with that, right? I don't think it had to be 80. It could have been 1. It could be 1, right? Like, so I think about that kid in California who raped that girl in the alley, and 2 people pulled him off, and it was like some swim star guy, and da 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 da. And we're actually kind of having the conversation that like his dad was having, right? Because his dad was like, he made one mistake. This shouldn't have like an impact on the rest of his life, and da 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 da. And then like on the opposite side, they're like, fuck him, right? Like, he ruined this girl's life. He's completely altered the trajectory of her entire life for the remainder of her existence because he wanted to get some, right? And forced himself on somebody. So, and then when I think about it, from that perspective, and I don't think magnitude matters. Like, it doesn't have to be a shit ton of girls or a shit ton of offenses. We're using it in the context of,
I was going to say magnitude in my
rape
context was the offense, not the quantity of offenses. But I just want to clarify my position.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to be clear that, like, it's not the actual number of it; it's the offense of it. And I think the offense of it is directly correlated to like who you are as an individual, right? You go talk to an old white man from the 40s, he might, Donald Trump or someone like that. He's like, oh man, I'm just talking shit, talking about grabbing girls. Everybody does this, man. Da, da, da. That old madman mentality. Then, you talk to a 25-year-old girl, he's like, yo, you're sick. You can't do that. Like, cultural sensitivities have kind of evolved, and those lines are kind of being drawn all over the place. And that's why we might get us saying, that's crazy that they tried to cancel Kevin Hart over this, but there's probably other people who are like, no, he deserves to be canceled because blah, blah, blah. And I think the group as a whole, society as a whole, kind of defines where that lines are depending on whether they're canceled or not. So if someone doesn't get canceled, like we talked about Kevin Hart just released a special, which was actually pretty good a couple weeks ago. And he's fine, right? He's still doing movies. He's on TV. He's fine. Society was like, yeah, that's not the line. We all agree that's not the line. Some people do. You're probably wrong. That's not the line. Other people, I wouldn't even say Louis C.K., right? Because he's still doing shows. But, the line, he's probably a little bit closer to that line, right? Where people are like, and I'm not saying he's past my line, like masturbating in front of women is my line, right? Like, not okay. But like, I don't know that society necessarily agrees with me. He's still doing shows. He had like 5 in Toronto or in Canada last year, or 6 or something like that. He's still doing shows. He ain't canceled. So maybe society don't agree with me. That's not the line. Maybe you can masturbate in front of a woman in your room and you're good to go. Yeah. Right?
All right. I know
Yourhighness, and then you're before me, buddy.
Yeah. I would say, and in my position too, honestly, it's coming from just being Black and growing up, man. I was honestly just in the whole spectrum of thing. I know some people may hear that and be like, well, what they got to do with anything? And what I mean is that looking at society from an aspect of a certain level of distrust stemming from constant lies and just fake shit and fake imposing. Now that I see some people jumping up on certain things, I'm like, it's not going to honestly affect me as much emotionally. Like, I'm like, this shit been fake the whole time, and they don't really give a damn. Now you want to jump up and act like this and that, and you want to pick and choose what you want to do that on. So some of that is involved in my attitude. Saying no, we recognize, like you say, that I see as the shit being kind of fake, because like what you're saying, you just brought up an example of somebody was like they did this and they was like that's cool. You know, the whole thing. I don't know if you know about Peyton Manning. He got a lawsuit in college because they said allegedly he put his nuts like a girl face or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. It's the way you said it that made me laugh. Not,
yeah, but
I'm not
for real,
laughing
like,
at the act of
yeah,
doing that. It's not cool,
yeah,
but
like,
it's
like
what you said is funny.
he was like in a like a massage, some kind of like gym or facility, and he did that, you know, and like, but they're like, well, you can't prove it, but the Title IX case got brought up, and they settled that. They said like that shows like okay you're in violation. He didn't say shit. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come out and was like nah I didn't do that shit. I'm not signing that shit. I'm not signing off on that shit. It got signed off. It's like it's not in the criminal court. It's not in the civil, but it's in a violation of NCAA whatever realm that basically say you're guilty. You know what I'm saying? So and then nobody says so people pick and choose what they want to do. And you know, and this is a culture permeate. And I know we're talking about the aspect of women now, like being a lot of things sexual, and like and we're dudes, man. I'm a dude. I know what dudes do. I know some of the same feelings that all men share when it comes to women. I just know it's just some shit it is. I'm not saying it's this level, that level. I'm a part of the club. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like women been complaining about a lot of shit for a long time. You know, so I see it as a good thing now that some of this stuff is happening, but I don't see an effort to come out in the culture being like, we're gonna address this shit for real. Look at the whole shit with Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. They got caught with the Asian parlor, like it's like in West Palm or South Florida, where they had like it basically unregistered like Asian girls, underage girls. He got caught basically getting one, like getting massage. Everybody know what's fucking going on, man. But he's like, oh, we didn't know that these girls were like here, like traffic. We didn't know, like, but nobody talks about that. So this is a reflection of power and money. Like some people are, even though they're seeing this going on, they can't really go. A lot of women can't even come, even though the culture set with the Me Too and Time's Up setting, they still can't kind of. You would think this shit supposed to be rolling about a week. Like this shit has been going on, but why is it just 1 year and then it's like a few months later? No, 1 year they still can't really be themselves and say because of power and because people will end up missing or they would end up fired or they end up blackballed out or whiteballed out or just xed out. So you like, man, it's only so much I can kind of say, and if I get enough momentum up, I'll get to go after this big name. I say if we're gonna do it, if we recognize that, hey man, this is something that's been going on, make this a priority. You know what I'm saying? Like I know the examples like who's who, but I'm just saying like it's a reflection of favoritism. Like sometimes it's gonna go through and sometimes it's not. And now we gotta explore the reasons why. And then you start to look at it, a lot of time it has to do with power, position, influence. You know, that's just it kind of comes back to that. And it's like, okay, so what's this really all about? It kind of comes off as fake to me because it kind of leads back to that. But I know we got Charles and we got Steve.